Why do you think that you and your brother thrived instead of becoming just another data point? What was that?
My mother, although we were in the middle of a lot of dysfunction, my mother raised us way differently than a lot of my peers. I distinctly remember my mother telling my brother and I that she would kill us before she would allow the streets to have us. And although I don't think she would actually have done this, I do believe that, that fear that we had, or that respect or the reverence we had for her, was the respect that we felt like she was due for her sacrifices that she made for us. And so while all my friends were outside in the morning, playing and riding their bikes in the summertime, my brother and I did homework from 9 until 11 or 9 until noon. Made us learn all the math, all the science, all the reading and language arts that we would need for the next grade. She would make us do that the summer before. She made sure we made our bed. She made sure we did chores. My mother raised us with structure, and that same structure that we were raised with carries me through this life. And this impression that we could learn new things and see new things is something that I do every day. So I'm always listening to a book, reading a paper. I believe it's iron sharpening iron, but my mother was the driving force behind us thriving. And I have a lot of I thought she was crazy at the time, but on this side of life, I have a lot of respect and admiration for her for the forward thought that she put into raising us.
An amazing woman. What did she understand about raising 2 black boys that the
Yeah.
research would later confirm? Like, what was she on to?
Well, I always say that my mother wrote could have written No Child Left Behind, or some of the legislation into summer reading loss and all these other things. I think what she realized or what she saw before her, my mother grew up in a small town and she saw people becoming or not living up to their full potential. And she did not want that for my brother and I. And so, what she didn't feel like she could offer us at home, she found in the way of mentors. And so, I had a lot of examples of what manhood could be, what it meant to be a professional, what it meant to help work in a world and do stuff for a society, because although my mother gave us a structure at home, she also realized that we were missing some things. And so we were in Boy Scouts, we were in mentoring programs, we did summer programs, all of those things that we couldn't get at home. She made a real concerted effort to help to make sure we got it out in public somewhere else. There's this really good book that I read once, and it's called Unequal Childhoods, and it's talking about the development journey of kids from higher income zip codes and lower income zip codes. And it's talking about concerted cultivation over the natural maturation process. And I feel like we had an equal balance of both, where my mother wrote out a schedule and planned events and had a real rubric for all the things that she wanted us to do. But there was also a part of the natural maturation process that my brother and I experienced as well. Those two married together, and my mother's threats to kill us is the real equation that I think helped us to be successful.
Yeah, yeah. It almost doesn't matter socioeconomically. The values that a parent has, if they can have high expectations coupled with strong support, that's a winning combination. And it's harder, obviously, in the situation that your mother was in raising you, absolutely. But those are kind of the magic ingredients for sort of getting the best out of your children.
Yeah, it totally is. Those values, those things that I grew up doing were really, in my opinion, always countercultural to the neighborhood that we grew up in. I mean, we had dinner most nights, Monday through Thursday. We had dinner at home at a table. We would sit down at a table with a knife and a fork, and we'd have dinner. My mother would ask questions about the day. We talk about stuff that we read in the newspaper. My mother really behaved in a way that was really outside of the scope of what we saw around us. And I think that part of, although it was harder, I knew we lived in a rough neighborhood. I knew we didn't have a lot, but my mother had this dignity and still has this dignity about her that it carries me through life. And then so I operate and have always operated in a way that was really counter to what the map or the guide outside showed was around us. Yeah.